Where France is, I think, remains to be seen.
Well, I mean, as I said, first of all, these are not new tariffs. They are making or deciding to make permanent tariffs that China has already imposed in retaliation. Now, the choice of Brandy was very clear. It was to de facto target French exports because Brandy exports to China is overwhelmingly from France. And this was a very clear political message because France was probably the EU member states that pushed the hardest to get an EU tariff on or an anti-subsidy tariff on Chinese EV exports to the EU. So it was fundamentally trade and political retaliation against France.
We just had the NATO summit. It was pretty ugly, right? In many ways.
Yes, it is a trade war, but I think at the same time, it is not a trade war like what may happen between Europe and the United States, and certainly has happened between China and the United States. It's a trade war that is, if you like, fought along the lines of the WTO.
But you're also going to see the opposite, that Ukrainian weapons designs.
Obviously, for French brandy export firms, it's a big deal. But overall, this is an export category that probably covers, I think last year, 1.7 billion euros. So hardly a strategic industry for Europe. So what China signaled was they don't like the EV tariffs and they will punish those who pushed for them. But they're not looking for a broader trade war with the EU. And I think that also, is fundamentally due to the fact that China needs access to the EU markets.
Sure, it could be industrial subsidies, military infrastructure, etc.
I don't think we should be very optimistic. I mean, Commission President von der Leyen said yesterday in Denmark that there's not going to be a broader deal. Now, that's not very surprising, I think. But if you look at Marek Šefčovič came back from Washington yesterday, and he basically, in his short comment to the meetings he had with senior Trump officials, was basically that, well, the work continues. We're hoping for a deal, but there was certainly no sign of a breakthrough.
To his domestic coalition partners that he was opposed to this.
So I think what we're looking at is, at best, an announcement that we will continue to negotiate for another month or two, and then maybe something will work out. I don't think that is, however, very likely. And if that happens, then it's up to the EU to decide, can we accept the status quo? Because remember, there is already a 10% US tariffs on all EU exports. There's already a 25% tariff on cars. There's already a 50% tariff on steel and aluminum, while EU retaliation is actually frozen. So I think it'll be a very tough decision for the EU to make if the Trump administration say, okay, let's meet back in September or something like that. Can we accept such an unbalanced status quo? I am skeptical. And I think it is increasingly likely, frankly, that the EU will decide, look, let's retaliate and then negotiate.